Hi guys, it's Noe. In today's video, I'm going to talk to you about some movies that we've been watching recently and offer you some reviews and let you know kind of what has caught our attention recently. I will say these three are not related at all. You're probably going to be like, whoa. We do tend to watch a little bit of anything and everything. Um, yeah, I'm sure our Netflix algorithm is probably like, what are these people doing? Um, so I did do a video on some of the shows that we've been watching recently. I will try to keep you updated with some of the things that we watch and things that have been notable, or have been like, whoa, let me talk about this. So the three movies that I'm going to review and talk to you about today, again, like I said, these are all over the place. The first one is called Knock Knock. And that is the one that's like, whoa, it's out there. Okay. The second one is the Bacchus Lady. And the third one is Over the Moon. Um, again, like I said, these are all over the place, totally not related at all. Over the Moon is available on Netflix, as is Knock Knock. That's where we watch those. The Bacchus Lady was actually really, really, really hard to find. We ended up finding it through an app and had to watch it in two parts. The Bacchus Lady is a South Korean movie. I believe it came out in 2016. And so we've known about it for a while. We just have not been able to find it. I think it was available if you're in the South Korean market. I believe it's available on Netflix, or at least at some point it was available on Netflix, but it is not available on Netflix in the US market. I'm not sure why it's been so hard to find it, but it's really hard. Like Asian Crush didn't have it. None of the main streaming services had it, so it was really hard to find. We couldn't even find it to like buy the DVD or anything, so it was really hard. But I highly recommend, if you're able to watch it, The Bacchus Lady. So it starts off, there are a lot of different themes in that movie. And as you guys know, I am an adoptee. So adoption is always something that, it's not something that I necessarily think about every single day, but is a huge, huge part of who I am and how I see the world and my identity, right? It's a huge piece of my identity. So that adoption was definitely a theme, an underlying theme that I picked up on throughout the movie. And I feel like if you're not an adoptee, I don't know how much you would pick up on that. But for me, that was really a central theme, that spoke to me. And that's kind of like, movies are art, right? So art is meant to make you feel things, and art is interpreted in different ways depending on who is receiving it. So I'm not sure that that was such a central theme for Herschel that he picked up on, but it definitely was for me. So the Bacchus Lady is about, there's a group of women who are 60s and older, who, considered elderly women in South Korea, who basically would be homeless, if they were not able to provide for themselves. And so how they provide for themselves is they end up having to be sex workers, right? So they go to these parks and they stand around in parks, and they're called Bacchus Ladies because they sell little bottles of Bacchus, which Bacchus is an energy drink. It's a Korean energy drink. Kind of like, if it's similar to like the 5-hour energies, like little bottles like that. So they'll just be standing around and they'll be like, can I offer you a bottle of Bacchus? So that's kind of how it starts. So they sell these bottles, but they end up going to a hotel or nearby place and providing services to these elderly men. Again, it is a definitely social commentary on how the elderly are forced to live and try to survive in Korea. And there's been a lot of documentaries, there's been a lot of things that have come out about a lot of the homeless are elderly in South Korea, because there's been there has been a cultural shift in how families and kind of the breakdown of families, because a lot of times, like East Asians, I would say most Asian cultures in general, but like East Asians, Korea, Japan, China, it used to be generations, right? Generations living under the same household. But in Korea, there's been a shift away from that. And so more and more elderly are forced to be homeless or they're on their own, right? So this is what the ladies do to survive. So it's definitely about that. And the issues with that. They also go into the topic of assisted suicide, and not necessarily in a medical way, but again, like these elderly who feel like they have nothing, and or who are so sick that they don't see the point in continuing to live, and so it touches on that. So assisted suicide, or euthanasia, but it's not in the medical sense, so you kind of have to watch for that. There is the notion, so again, like I said, a lot of social ills, so it goes into kind of the privileged of society. So it shows, basically there's an elderly man who's sick in the equivalent to like a nursing home because he had a stroke, and his son and his son's wife and their two kids basically are just there to, haraboji, we love you, blah, blah, blah. Well, we're so busy though, we can't come back and see you until next summer. Like, next summer, that's a year. Like, how do you know that he's even gonna be alive, right? And just the callousness, I guess. And then the grandkids are shown, and they're busy on their phones, and they have their headphones, and they can barely take the time to pay their respects, or to say hello and spend time with their grandfather who's sick. So really talking about the social ills there. But the other issue for me that was central was the theme of adoption. So the main character, turns out that she had a baby by an American soldier. Turns out that the American soldier was a black man, so a black American soldier, and she had a baby with him. And when he left, she had to give the baby up. So she gave the baby up. And so that theme comes back to her so many other times. And to me, that's what really stuck with me. But and also it was really cool because it was a she was in a Blasian relationship. So I was like, oh, that's super cool. Kind of also going along with the social ills is that there is a situation with a privileged South Korean man who had gone and studied abroad in the Philippines, I believe. Turns out while he was there, he ended up getting a girl pregnant. But he comes back to live his cush life as a doctor who he is married and has a family. And then the woman shows up with the baby. And so kind of how that is viewed, the woman ends up doing something. She goes to jail. So the main character ends up taking her son home with her. Which again, like playing on the theme of adoption, like I think she saw that as her opportunity to spend time with a boy, and like imagining her son in that situation potentially. But again, like multiracial relationships played a role, and they talk about, like even when they talk about the boy got lost, and she's like, have you seen a dark-skinned boy? So just talking about kind of that colorism in their society. So that touched on so many different things. Like that movie, probably one of the best movies that I've seen in a long time. And I really enjoy a lot of the South Korean movies that come out. We really like Train to Busan. I like a lot of the Korean thrillers. Parasite was great, right? Parasite, everybody knows Parasite because of the hoopla and everything that it gained. But I would say, and Parasite was good, and again, exposing some of those social ills. But Bacchus Lady, hands down, like beats Parasite, blows it out of the water. So I highly, highly recommend Bacchus Lady, if you're able to see that. That movie was so powerful that when it ended, I mean, I cried during it, but when it ended, I cried and like I bawled, like full on ugly cry, bawled for like 40 minutes after the movie. And poor Herschel was just like just holding me because there was nothing else he could do and there was nothing else that I could do. It hit me that hard, and like it honestly, I haven't felt I felt brokenhearted, like so brokenhearted because of adoption and me reflecting on my own personal life and my own journey and knowing and acknowledging that as I get older, that means that my biological mother is also getting older if she's still alive. And so just all of that, it hit me. Like I hurt as much as I hurt when my mom passed. Like it was the same kind of cry, that same kind of hurt. Like it just struck me so deep and spoke to me so intensely. For those of you who do not live in the same realm of me and not being an adoptee, like it will probably be a more lighthearted movie for you. It might not have as much of an impact on you than it did on me, but wow, I cannot say enough good things about Bacchus Lady. So, shifting gears, the other movie we watched the other night was Knock Knock. This one, so bizarre. Not expecting it whatsoever. So, Keanu Reeves, and I think this movie was made a few years ago in like 2015. Keanu Reeves is living this like picturesque life. And then two strange women knock on his door, and then it just goes wild from there. There are some scenes that are definitely not safe for children, not safe for work. There are some scenes you're like, whoa, I was not expecting this. Like, risque. Yeah. So be prepared for that. Yeah, but it was kind of a thriller. It was a good movie. Not too much to say, but it was just not what I was not what we were expecting. We were expecting it to be like kind of a thriller, but not in the way that it was. So I would say that was written really well because you didn't know what to expect, and then it kind of ends with a twist. Like it just, yeah. That was a bizarre movie, but it was good. It was good. Then the final movie of the three movies I'm going to talk about is Over the Moon. So Over the Moon is from Netflix. I think it's a Netflix original. And it's really cool because it talks about a Chinese family. And, I was a little like, when I started watching it, because a lot of times when I watch things from a certain lens, and a lens of social justice or whatever. And I was like, well, they should have made this, like, they're not, because it takes place, like, in China. It doesn't take place in, like, San Francisco or anything, but all the characters speak English. And so I was kind of taken aback from that. I'm like, well, they should be speaking, Mandarin or their own dialect. But Herschel was like, this was made for kids. Like, kids can't sit there and read subtitles. And so I was like, oh, okay, point taken. But it's about a cute little Chinese family, and there's some tragedy, there's some magic and adventure and some heartfelt goodness. It's all about family love, right? And I really appreciated that. The cast was really great, and I was surprised. Actually, the majority of the cast were Korean actors. The person that plays Changa, one of the lead characters, she is Chinese, and she's actually a Broadway star. So she's got the pipes. But Ken Jeong is in there. Sandra Oh is in there. I forget who else are some of the actors and characters, but really cute movie. Really great movie for the kids, for the family to watch. We definitely use that. We watched that as a family. The kids really enjoyed it, but just a cute, heartfelt movie. The songs are good and the little characters are cute. I think the star of the show is Bungie. Bungie is a little pet bunny, and he is so adorable. I want Bungie. But anyway, yeah, so I highly recommend that for definitely light watching. And so, yeah, so these movies, like I said, were all across the board. Obviously, the one that had the biggest impact and that I had the most to say about it was Bacchus Lady, and I highly, highly, highly recommend it. And then Knock Knock and Over the Moon, both on Netflix. So that's the movies that we've been watching recently. We are always watching stuff, so please hit me up with your suggestions. Let me know if there's movies that you think I should watch. And let me know what you're watching. Let me know if you've seen these movies, what your thoughts were. And just don't judge me for the movies that I do watch and do decide to review, because like I said, they're all over the place. But anyway, that is enough rambling, but hopefully you guys liked my review of these movies, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.